America's public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse.
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall never surrender.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Hello and welcome to another episode. This time I'm going to be focusing on my History of Today series and looking at North Korea, discussing whether this guy and this guy really are crazy enough to end the world. So, at the end of the Second World War, the Japanese occupied the Korean peninsula. However, after they were defeated in the Second World War, the Soviets and America dug in, dividing the country along the 38th parallel. And in the south, in true democratic style, they elected their leader. However, in the north, this guy was appointed by Stalin to be the communist leader of North Korea. He was called Kim Il-sung, but we'll know him as Kim the First. And to this day, this guy is still the eternal life president of North Korea. The bodies of him and his son are permanently embalmed in the country's capital, Pyongyang, to be visited by their subjects and adored even in their death. So, back to the 1950s. At the start of the Korean War, the South and its NATO allies pushed the North Koreans all the way up to the Chinese border. Then, the Chinese got involved, helping their communist brothers push the South all the way back down to the bottom of the Korean peninsula. Then, the South and its allies rallied and pushed them all the way back up to, guess where? Right where they started, on the 38th parallel. And that's how it is today. What we have to understand is there is still no peace treaty between North and South Korea. The two states are still technically at war. There is only a ceasefire and a demilitarized zone. So, since the 1950s, North Korea has been ruled by him, and him, otherwise known as Kim, Kim, and Kim. The Kim dynasty. So, what I'll be discussing next is whether this guy on the right, Kim Jong-un, is crazy enough, more crazy than his father and grandfather, to start a nuclear war. And I'm going to go ahead and say no, due to the fact the amount of time it will take for the North Koreans to launch a missile on the United States could launch one straight back, thus ensuring mutually assured destruction. This was a Cold War policy, and it is the basic principle that two combatant sides in a nuclear war will never actually fire on each other because they know that a war would result in their own death. And if you are thinking it, then you are right. Yes, it is mad. So, why the provocation? Why does Trump talk about having access to a nuclear button that actually works? Why does Kim continue to visit rocket launch sites and develop North Korean nuclear weapons? And what is exactly Trump referring to when he says he will not fail? Well, this too is a Cold War policy, and it's called brinkmanship. It's the idea you push your opponent right to the point they think you're going to start a war, so they back down and make concessions. It is another Cold War policy of nuclear deterrence. And it was successful during the Cold War. During the Berlin crisis in the 1960s, brinkmanship was used successfully by the West to get concessions out of the Soviet Union, now Russia. You could argue that it's worked this time. I find it no coincidence that Kim Jong-un has visited his old ally China in his first diplomatic trip since taking the leadership of North Korea. And it's no coincidence that North and South Korea competed in this year's Olympics under a unified flag, and that Kim's influential sister has visited the South with an invitation expected to be extended to the South to come to the North later this year. So, as much as we think Trump is an idiot, has he accidentally or on purpose forced North Korea to get back into the fold of the real world? So that's it for this week. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment or subscribe. It does make a massive difference if you do so, and I will see you next time.